something that you'll be considering at your next meeting.
Yep.
I didn't do a summary, Chris, because it's such a short ordinance. So I figured you'll just send it into the newspaper once adopted.
Okay. No. You mean for 27? No.
$45 subscribers already?
But you can just watch it right there on the YouTube if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Other than that, click on that. Click it.
That's pretty slick.
It is. See?
We got it. We're dialed in here.
Yeah.
Almost up to our max. Newsletter. or the Email blast I could send out.
Max emails?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
For subscribers.
Oh,
500.
holy cow. Okay. I think, well, yeah. I would. I think one of the things that Dominique and I have been looking at a new website provider that comes with it is, yeah,
But since it's only $5 more,
just
we'll do
let's
it
do it until we get it done. Yeah.
for $5.
Bill, did you read all 25 pages of the? Yeah.
I read every single document.
Attaboy.
Yeah, and in fact, I even have a phone call today with Cindy.
Good.
Yeah.
Why is it so complicated?
I think that's where we better stop that
Yeah, I'm
conversation.
not gonna say a word later. Stick around, I'll talk to you. Okay, boy, lucky we got a quorum tonight. I'll
Yes,
tell you
indeed.
that. Chris. Lucky we got enough people. Must be unloading that mattress out today.
Well, 2 more minutes and we'll get started.
Our clock is fast.
It is a little bit fast by 2 minutes.
Oh, we'll have to fix that.
Minutes to rewind it.
Karen's got 2 things to do here. She can't keep the clock.
You do like you did the calendar.
I will, I'll fix it, I'll get it.
Yeah, the two oldest pieces of technology in the Credit River City Hall is the calendars and the clock.
Clock, I got them, they're all dialed in.
Calendars are tough because I can't read.
I know it. You got shorted on your wingspan.
Oh, man.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Get stuff. Holy smokes, what do you know this? You gonna have on here?
Motor grader number 10. You're gonna add that when we do that. Andrew. Look, you got 30 seconds to spare.
That's early.
I know. I was wondering, why are you here so early? Are we ready to adjourn already? All right, 6 o'clock. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everybody, for joining us for the November 15th, 2021 Credit River City Council meeting. I'm going to begin the meeting with approving or amending the agenda. Is there anybody who'd like to add anything to the agenda tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add number 10 on general business, discuss motor grader.
All right, that'll be number 10 under general business. Anybody else have anything to add or subtract? All right, if nobody has anything, I would take a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Al.
I'll second it.
Second by Leroy. Motion and a second to approve the agenda with the one noted change. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine, non-controversial are included as a part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from the consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. On tonight's consent agenda, we've got the revised Scott County JPA for prosecution, and we've got clerk election hours. Is there anybody like to discuss either one of those independently?
Nope.
I would take a motion a second then to approve consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Al. Motion a second to approve consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public the opportunity to address concerns to the council. Excuse me. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Would anybody like to speak for open forum tonight? Tom, you got anything for open forum tonight? No, you good? All right, then we will close open forum. No public hearings tonight. So let's move into general business. Resident at 21872 Carbridge Court requesting removal of late fees from CSTS fees. Residents will be in attendance. Dominique, if you want to introduce that subject, please. His microphone's on. No, it would have been one on a computer. I think you're good now. You just muted yours. Dominique, you're good.
Yeah, I thought I was.
Wait.
Wendy?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So if you wanted to go to the podium, so Wendy would like to talk to the board about her CSTS.
Okay. Wendy, if you do me a favor in that microphone in front of you, there's a rectangle button there. If you just hold that down until the green light pops on. There you go. Good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight and for taking the time to listen to me. I moved to Lakeville in July of 2020 amidst the pandemic after divorcing and selling our home in Rochester, Minnesota. I wanted to be closer to my children in Minneapolis, and I took a job teaching in Burnsville. So this is the first time living alone and owning my own home. And I want to let you know that I'm not normally somebody who neglects paying my bills. I could provide documentation to show that I have diligently paid my mortgage, my property taxes, utilities, homeowners association, and other services. I pay these in full and on time. I'm not someone who usually would do that. I am someone though who mistakenly thought that when I got these cards in the mail from the wastewater services, that this was just indicating where my monies were being spent, either through the HOA or my taxes. I clearly was wrong. Ignorance is no excuse, except clearly that is what happened. Otherwise, why would I have never paid even one? So I never even knew of my delinquency until I received a letter in the mail. And I was completely shocked. And I never knew of this until then. I never got a phone call or an email. And I mentioned that only to highlight the fact that as soon as I did get the letter, I immediately addressed the issue. I contacted Dominique and she explained the situation to my horror, and I promptly paid the bill in full. And to show good faith, I also paid the exorbitant fee of $910. So it's a steep price to pay for ignorance. So I'm here tonight to respectfully ask that I be given some grace in this situation. And that you would consider removing the penalty and either refunding the fee or using the fee as a credit for future services. Furthermore, once this is settled, I plan to sign up for the automatic payment like I have for most of my bills, so that there would be no future late payments. So thank you for your time and for considering my request.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Wendy.
it.
Thank you for explaining the situation. Dominique, if you would, can you, off the top of your head, remind us what the policy is on how do we calculate our late fees?
So, 1 month
Turn your microphone
short.
on. There you go.
So the way the CSTSs work, they're billed in the month for service. So for instance, November 1st, your bill would go out, it would be due on the 21st of November, but not considered late until the following 21st on the December. So the board's policy is that the first month you're late, it's $10 and it's cumulative. So the second month is $10, the third month it's $30, the fourth month is $40. And we do not, other than the postcard, and the postcard does say what your monthly fee is and what your adjustment or your penalty is, and shows you, and those go out monthly. And as a process, we do not call people or
Right. Well, I don't
send them
think we
separate
have
letters
phone numbers in the
because
database.
correct, we do
Yeah.
not. And we certify at the end of the year.
Mhm.
And I think she moved in right as things were being certified last year.
So in 2020. So
Yeah.
this is, so then the letter didn't go out until we were getting ready, just, until we notified everybody who was delinquent and ready, about to
For
be certified
2021,
for 2021.
correct.
So this is a full year's worth of late
And a
fees,
little bit, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. We've had a lot of people that we've had,
They choose
well,
not
we've
to
had,
pay.
that one person went years.
Yeah. But that was,
Without
a
ever
cho-
paying.
but that was a
We
choice.
certified that one every year.
Yeah,
And then that gets added to their tax.
Yeah.
but that was intentional.
Oh.
That wasn't.
I mean, it's not like we're unintentional, like it just happened to hit at the end of the cycle, and then they didn't catch it until the next certification letter came through. Has that ever happened before?
It might have. I don't know that we've,
There have
I mean,
been
there's been-
numerous
yeah.
people that probably some years we've had up to 6 people where they have not paid
yeah,
their services for a year.
and for different reasons, right? I mean, we've had it where people have moved in, that, whether it be the HOA or the realtor doesn't explain that, it's a utility, just like if you lived in the city and had water and sewer payments, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's common
Mhm.
that we've had people that don't pay.
Right.
Some
And-
people just opt to have it certified.
Yeah, I know that we've had a small handful that were, I think they've all moved on now. I don't think we have any of those that
We
are,
have
we still have one left that's
Yep.
been there, but I know most of them that have
Yep.
done that or have moved on now. And I don't know, I don't believe that we've ever gone back and credited back a late fee.
Because Mayor, no one's ever came in with this situation. The board, and they didn't know.
Right.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
that's not where I'm going, but I'm kind of at, like,
Mhm.
you can't make exceptions always because of mistakes, but you can sure have a lot of discretion when there's unique situations. And I guess that's what I'm asking is, does this sound like a very unique situation in understanding that others don't pay their bills? Like, is this a very unique situation and that the resident has come to us, has a very reasonable and probably very realistic explanation on why, what happened? The timing seems to be unfortunate in when it started and when it ended. And then I guess the one other question I had is, because I read the emails with this, is that maybe I'm missing something in the paperwork, but like, where did the $900 go? Because this said 240 in that certification letter.
In the certification letter? No, it's 2,480.65.
Isn't that the total due?
Yep. The
And
grand
then-
total.
But
And
then in
then, so there's,
addition-
if she would not have paid it by today, there is an additional
Okay, all right,
charge
so that's where I'm sorry. I
for
just wondered.
attorney's fees.
When we
and
certify
to collect,
processing
right.
fees.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an additional, but she's avoiding that because she has.
She
paid
has
it.
paid, right?
It's a tough.
They all are, right?
They are, and
Yeah.
that's why I guess we signed
You
up
know,
for what we're doing.
It is.
You know,
Um,
and if I may, I've never paid a late fee before. I pay my credit card. I don't pay interest. I pay it off monthly. I'd be happy to show that to you. I'm not someone who just chooses not to pay my bills. It just seems like a extremely high amount to pay for this. If it were just $20 or $50, I probably would have
Mhm.
paid it and slapped my own hand and said, why did you not investigate this further? But $900 seemed like it was worth at least asking for some grace
Yeah.
and.
And we can appreciate that, Wendy.
Mhm.
So my concerns are, Wendy's situation might be unique to, others that have not paid. Okay. If we do change our policy this one time or have an exception to our policy one time, where is that now going forward, right? Where is our policy going forward? What is it, what does that look like? Because then we have that, because I think part of the reason we have this policy in place is because now for a year, we've carried the costs of operating the system, or should I say, the residents that are in that district have supported operating that cost with one not paying, right? So we've had that carrying cost as a burden onto the CSTS. Now is it, so it's more of, I think, an incentive to get people to pay rather than not. So that's the struggles that I have with doing a one-time situation, is then forever more now going forward, there will be an opportunity, and our, it's almost like it's a policy change.
Yeah, can I ask a question just
Absolutely.
maybe from,
Yeah.
without hearing the CSTS, because he's kind of my mentor on that pieces. To the fines pieces, like
Mhm.
what is the real incurred costs of a resident not paying? And I'm not saying we should
Right.
tailor to that, I'm just to give me a
Yeah.
perspective on, is the fees. Is there actual real cost that we can go back and say, well, the fees are not absorbent because there's actually this cost that was put forward that had to be funded. The other is always the argument is you have to have a certain amount of fee that makes it so that
Mhm.
there's an encouragement to
Yeah.
pay the bill,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
there's a certain piece of that, and I don't know if anybody could speak to what they think the balance is of those two.
As I say, you were probably the only one here tonight that was on the board when the policy was put in place back when those developments were built.
Yeah. I was just thinking, maybe we, at 6-month period, we send a letter out to remind residents instead of waiting to the end of the year.
Well, we send one every month,
I know, but
because on the postcard, it says what the cumulative late fees are getting to be.
like a bright purple one, or pink one or something.
Yeah.
Change the color of the,
Get their attention.
once a
I can
6-month
do
period.
that.
We could probably do that. Okay,
We have been highlighting lately
Okay,
okay,
on there, so.
yeah,
The late fee.
the late fee. Yeah,
Is the late fee actually on the little cards?
Yeah.
Mhm. It escalates, yeah, you
Mhm.
see you see the.
But is the money actually accumulating? So when she sees the bill, it's climbing? Or is it just,
Yeah.
here's the
yeah,
late fee?
it gives a balance. Yeah,
Yep.
And what, there is a statement at the bottom of the card that says something about it being applied to your taxes.
That's
What-
the certification process.
if it doesn't get paid by November, then it gets done.
That is the
then,
part
yeah,
that I misinterpreted, that it was
Right,
being paid by the taxes.
yeah. Yeah.
I guess like, maybe like, just to look at this another way is this our opportunity to save someone else like this, the trouble of this happening? Which sounds much different than people saying, good and great, you send me your bills, I'm not gonna pay them. Which is different to someone going, if I would have known, I would have more than happily paid, right?
Mhm.
And is this an opportunity to maybe save the ones who are trying to do the right thing and then don't realize it? Is there an opportunity from when Leroy maybe was part of something different?
Yeah.
It's first applause ever at a city. Dealing with a CSTS, but I appreciate the.
That's the
is
first time
maybe
I've
this-
ever spoken at once.
Instead of worrying
so-
about making a unique exception for one, is it, maybe we could look at it that way, is this an opportunity to learn from someone who tries to do the right thing and maybe try to fix it so the people who are trying to do the right thing don't get caught in the same loop, and then we'd have to deal with another one.
It's been quite a few years since we put this together. Maybe we have to take a good look at it, fine tune it.
You
Somehow.
can, I mean, you have to think carefully what that trigger is
Right.
then, right?
Yep.
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
What would have triggered you or really alerted you to go, oh crap, this is not what I was thinking was happening?
Yeah, a letter like you sent. I mean, I was shocked and really and horrified when I got that letter saying that I was delinquent. So, or an email. I know that you said you don't do phone calls anymore. I'm old, so I still like the phone. But yeah, I totally misinterpreted probably the first card, and then just I saved them for a while, honestly. And then after a year, I tossed them last July, thinking that that was just showing me where the monies were going.
Just
And-
a point to be clear, Wendy, I don't think it's that we don't do phone calls or emails, it's
right,
that we
yeah.
don't, those are not part of
We
property
don't
records.
Oh,
So
I
we
see.
don't automatically have everybody in the Credit Rivers email or phone number.
Mhm.
Especially now that everybody's carrying a cell phone around and
Right, right.
the phone
yeah,
book has gone from this thick to, do
Yeah,
they even print them anymore?
I don't think so. No,
Did-
no.
Yeah.
Wendy,
So-
did your realtor when you bought it? bought the
See,
place,
I know
explain that?
Dominique encouraged me to go to them, and I actually had a different issue with them, and it was just so nerve-wracking and upsetting that, and it never got taken care of. It was not a financial, it was something different. And so that's why I truly hesitated to go back to them, because they were not kind and not helpful. And so I chose to just come and address you,
Mhm.
as opposed to them again.
Yeah, and that, you know, when I think about the really just objective, no emotions thing is, this is 100% on you, you know. like,
It is,
it
and I
is,
admit
because
it's totally my
disclosures
fault.
are signed, I guarantee you, part of the title closing process, there's probably some form in there that's spelled out, maybe, probably
Probably.
that it was in there, it was probably in
Mhm.
realtor disclosure, I don't know 100%, so I'm not gonna say.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that the lack of a solution is 100% on you either, you know, so.
No, but I'm not trying to blame anyone when I said, I wish, if I had received an email or a phone call that I would have taken care of it sooner. But I was completely shocked when I got that letter. And my knowledge might be based on books and movies, that you get those pink slips in the mail or something, and it's never gotten one before. So when I got this one for $900, I just,
Leroy, what are you thinking? You
Shocked.
look like you got an idea.
I don't.
Can I propose something
Absolutely.
which I would, I don't know what the answer is yet. I'll start it with that, but I propose that if we're going to put a stopgap or come up with this opportunity to try to avoid this in the future, that then we would retroactively apply whatever that stopgap would be to her. Meaning that if at 6 months, we would have sent a letter that's purple, just as an example, not saying that this is the solution.
Mhm.
They would have said, we need to send you a mid-year reminder that you have not paid your CSTS. And then that's when she would have caught it and said, oh, then I would say that possibly we could carry credit forward of the second half of the year if that would have been the thing that would have stopped her from going, oh, there's something wrong here. I need to fix this. I need to pay this and I will pay it in full. And then I will avoid the late fees going forward with that. That seems like a possible starting place if we're going to make a exception. Am I making that clear? Or is that not?
Yeah, no, I think you're clear.
There have been other instances where clearly it was not communicated to the resident by the seller or the
Yeah.
title people or and oftentimes they've been able, the title insurance has paid for that communication error.
But then, when we play the devil's advocate again, it looks like this system has failed before. That like the title insurance, the realtor, the sellers.
Well, we
But
don't
so,
have
so I
any-
guess what happens when you buy a house in Savage that's connected to sewer? What happens differently?
That you probably expect a sewer bill, and so it's just that we're in a unique place that we have kind of this city/neighborhood government private partnership to run like these one-off septic systems that I'm just trying to make
Yeah.
sure that people understand, you know. I'm just trying. to
No, I understand. I'm just
trying
trying
to
to
just
asking
bring
a question
aspects.
because
Yeah.
you know, I'm again, understanding and trying to be compassionate of this situation. The struggle I have is then where do we draw the line to exceptions?
I agree,
Right.
that's sort of the
Because,
discussion.
so when the finance committee reviews the adjustments and the fees every month, and there's probably 15 every month that are collecting late fees, that there's late fees on.
between the three.
How do
three
we
districts.
differentiate between this situation and somebody else coming in? That's the biggest problem I have from diverting policy, right? Is how do we differentiate?
Right, because if someone intentionally doesn't pay, it ends up in the same spot
Mhm,
when it goes to taxes.
yeah, that's the struggle that I have
Yeah.
with changing policy on the fly like this.
It's worked pretty well for the last
Uh,
however many years.
I mean, if you guys want to make an exception,
15.
you know, I think we can consider that, but again, how do we make this exception differently, and what is the exception?
No, and that's why I think I was trying to
I
walk
know,
a little bit
right.
finer line is that we're not just making an exception just for her. That
Mhm.
we're saying, if we're gonna make a change and she's the one that brought it to light to finally say it's time to make a change, I think that it would be very fair to say we will retroactively give you some relief for whatever that change would have been that possibly could have stopped this.
Yeah,
That-
so then you're proposing that there's some process that goes on afterwards
If this is
to
our
consider this.
this is possibly our learning moment, that if we're gonna send out a purple letter at 6 months, if that's a thing that we think we need to do. Once again, I'm just talking,
Yeah,
that if that's what we're gonna do, I don't think that it would be so unreasonable to say, we're gonna change it, if we're gonna change it, I'm not saying we have to, but if we're gonna change it, to figure out some type of retroactive, to say, we'll give you credit forward for it because we made a change based on what you brought forward, I think is, if I sum it up. I don't know, it's hard,
yeah.
it really, and to your point is, I don't know, because
Mhm.
I knew what I was getting into, but also we're all very involved, and that's probably why we all chose to run for election, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say that if someone that had never lived in a
Mhm.
place such as Credit River and then moved into a neighborhood that's like, oh, I guess we have a septic system here. I don't know what
Sewer system,
I don't know
yeah.
what their interpretation would be compared to if they moved into the city of Burnsville.
Mhm.
and there's a sewer bill that comes with a water bill. I just
Right.
don't know. It's a very unique situation down here that I think is worth the conversation we're having instead of just no, thanks for bringing this to light and moving on.
Okay, so who would be a part of evaluating that?
Like, what could be the new solution? Well, I suppose whoever's got CSTS next to their name, would that be me and Brent?
Or you guys are operations or finance? You guys are
Or
operations.
probably the operations, like the making sure the mowing, but I guess
Right.
then whoever had the finance,
That's Brent and I.
okay. And then maybe we don't have to make a decision tonight, but I think she took the time and took the
Mhm.
effort and was very genuine that if we're gonna make a change, maybe this would be just give the time and the conversation.
All right. So how about we do this? How about Brent, myself and Dominique have a conversation about that, about what you said, what your proposal over the next 30 days. And then we can notify Wendy if there's any change.
If we're gonna make a change.
And if you guys, if you guys are all right with that?
Yep.
All right.
And I think if there's real costs involved,
Mhm.
there might be a return on investment of sending a little purple letter to the people who are there, that might be cheaper than going and chasing them down, right? Possibly.
Except that we apply all the fees of chasing them down to the property, to the certification. Yeah. So, all right,
There might be other, I think maybe it could be a conversation with the HOA.
well,
That's
I mean,
valid.
that would be, I guess I don't know if they do an introduction to the residents.
Because-
Did the HOA do any? No?
They're
So
supposed
then I
to,
guess then there's that.
Because we have the
back to-
website, the minute we,
Right,
you
we
know.
gave the HOA territory probably 60 pamphlets that we had made up originally, and they were to be passed on with the homes, or they could make copies and hand out. Because it's their system too,
yeah.
and,
Well, they have the
Mhm.
water. Yeah, we own the,
but that was
Operate
to be
the
handed out
sewer.
with the water. And if they are neglecting to do that, then they're not very good HOA.
So maybe we
Oh.
can,
Yeah.
I know, there is an introductory package.
Yep.
That is sent.
by the HOA.
No, we send one. Sarah would have sent it. I can check that.
Okay,
But
Where do the fees go? The late fees? I don't know.
they go into the CSTS budget or the CSTS funds.
If you count on that to run your, so you set an annual budget and divvy it up amongst how many homeowners. I don't know where I'm going with this other than that. The system isn't out any money. you know. It's paid all, she paid it all. The only thing out is late fees, which you use for whatever you want to use it for, because it's just extra money coming.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, I think we have a path to evaluate this situation and make a decision with some further research.
I hope you feel like this is we took.
Yes,
I think
I
that's
do.
very
I
right,
appreciate your
because
time.
This is very this is very considerate of you. I think it's very considerate of us, and I think that you and Brent are having a conversation with Dominique and seeing if there is a change that needs to be happening. Seems like a really reasonable
Yeah,
response.
We'll figure,
Well, I do appreciate your time. Thank you for hearing me.
all right, Wendy.
Yeah, I know it was my mistake, totally. I just feel like $910 is an extremely high price to pay for it. And honestly, if I had known, I would have paid it earlier. I was wrong. The HOA does inform us when you're coming to do the
pumping,
The step
pumping,
inspections and pumping.
so which is why I also kind of misinterpreted that they were in charge of it. And if I may, one distinction between my case or my plea and maybe someone else's who chooses to pay, I didn't pay a single one, which is embarrassing. But clearly it shows that I didn't understand.
Mhm.
Whereas opposed to, oh, I'll pay this one or I'll pay that one. No, I'm not going to pay this one. So if you're looking for a line to draw or a distinction. But thank you for your time. I
Right.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right, moving on, general business number 2, resolutions certifying the CSTS late fees to the property taxes. Dominique?
So I put the resolutions out. And I have a draft for who remains. I do have to check the mailbox. So it's simply the resolution to certify the folks that don't pay.
Yep.
So that it would be certified, and as Wendy mentioned, she has paid.
All right, so we've got 3 resolutions, one for each of the systems. I've got resolution 2021-49, 2021-50, and 2021-51. Resolution certifying delinquent community sewer treatment service fees and related interest for Stonebridge Territories and Monterey Heights South Passage. Any questions on those, or
No.
otherwise we'll be ready for a motion to approve those?
Second.
Thank you, Al. Motion and a second to approve resolutions 2021-49, 2021-50, 2021-51. Resolutions certifying delinquent community sewer treatment service fees and related interest for Stonebridge Territory, Monterey Heights South Passage. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, next up. Number, shoot, we should have crossed out. That's on there actually twice. We'll go to number 4, Scott County, County Road 27 funding request. So in the packet was the, I think there was 3 documents in the packet there tonight. Number 1 was a letter from Scott County requesting contribution for the reconstruction of County Road State Aid Highway 27 with a dollar amount of $4 million requested. Document number 2 in there was a letter that we prepared to send back to the county, offering an amount of like $403,000 or something like that. That was conversation that Leroy and I and Dominique and Shane had based upon a calculation, which is the 3rd document in there, is a calculation of what the improvements to the Credit River portion of the project are. So the Credit River roads, which is a $672,000 number in that calculation. So we had that letter and that number of $400,000 all prepared. And I had a conversation with the county back on Friday, and that's probably not a number that's going to work for them. Okay, because the calculation was, was the improvements, and then we decided to treat it kind of like one of our assessment projects, and we had, we said, okay, let's offer 60% of that. They were looking for a number probably somewhere more up closer to $1 million, payable over 20 years. I think, given that it's 672 to do the improvements on the Credit River portion, I think that would be a number that we should probably consider payable something over 10 years, beginning in 24. And I think that the county would probably be acceptable of that number then.
Is the project going to be done by then?
The project will be done by then. If our commissioner has to get out there on the road grader himself.
Might be our road grader.
It might be our road grader. We might own a road grader by then.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, we started at the
Started with a low ball, that
400. Can't hurt to throw it out there, so.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what other the
Well,
options are, you know, it's
right.
this is the kind of the talk we had, like when we were all discussing the transition and the road
Yeah.
piece. And this is the very realistic of we're kind of not on our parents' insurance anymore, and this is how this is gonna work.
Yeah. Typically, so just so everybody's clear, Scott County has a policy when they are doing a county road in a city that there is a cost share to that. Under their calculation, our number would have been $4 million.
Mhm.
That now in the typical scenario, the city is a part of the planning process and the timing and the finance all the way from one to finish. This was dropped on us like. oh,
2 months after we became. a
No, it was like 2 months before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
So-
a 2018 project.
yeah, and on top of that, this was a project that was supposed to have been done in 2018, so. So that's where the opportunity for some negotiation was able to take place on this one. So I guess any more other discussion, or if you guys are ready to,
No, I just feel the irony of a conversation we just had about CSTS and someone asking for a unique
Exception.
exception, and that we're doing the same thing. And they both seem like reasonable starting places, considering the situation around both.
I think I came quite a ways when I said we weren't gonna give them a penny. But I can see where our portion is 672, and we would have ended up doing that anyhow, so.
yeah,
If that would be something they would accept, I would be fine with it.
Mhm.
okay. So what you're saying is you're making a motion?
Yes, I am.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Leroy to contribute 672,000. Actually, the exact number in that calculation was 672, 655 and 46 cents. Second by Al. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And we'll send that note off to Leslie. All right, next up, number 5. County Road, State Aid Highway 21 and Natchez Traffic Signal Joint Powers Agreement. So additionally, so was it last year where I think we got that stoplight put in at 91 and 21 up there as requested by a bunch of the residents and by, you know, one of the things that was recommended by this council or board at the time. In that they have asked us to contribute to the ongoing operation and maintenance of that light. Okay, so they've asked us to pay for the electricity and the maintenance on the, Andrew, what do they call that? The emergency,
The Opticon.
the Opticon or the, right?
Emergency exception.
Yeah,
Blue light.
the little, the blue.
Well, then that's actually,
different.
no, that's a separate one. That's for police, for traffic law enforcement reasons.
Total price for the electricity and all that for the year was.
Was 75.
Yeah, $75 a month. It's pretty cheap.
And then the annual maintenance of that 250.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think for the added safety, it's well worth it.
yeah. EVP system, that was what they called it.
Emergency
I
vehicle
think the
preemption.
Yeah.
or
I think
exception.
the intersection has become much safer,
Opticon.
and with the stoplights, it's a lot better than the J turnaround that they were proposing to begin with, so.
I've been there since we put it in,
Yeah,
and by we, I mean by the county stepping up, and
right.
Commissioner Wolf and I having some
Mhm.
discussions. I guess just a question then city council have. It's at the intersection of a county road and a county road.
And a Critter River Road. So
That's-
northern leg of
that's
Critter River
Sort
Road.
of, so,
Not, yeah, going
So does-
north of,
so to apply it, then why don't we just play for a quarter of it? I mean, you know, like if we're gonna play the game a little
So-
bit, you know, I'm just,
they're not asking for maintenance on the whole light, they're asking for the electricity and the maintenance on the EVP. So
I'm probably the only damn one that uses it.
EVP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah,
using it,
stop
turn
using
it
it, let's
off.
take it off.
Yeah, that's a bad intersection not to have
Now,
that on, so.
Bob, can you talk a little bit about the language in the contract?
Yes, I reviewed the contract, Mr. Mayor. I had 3 suggested revisions to the contract. It is my understanding through Engineer Nelson that the county was acceptable to 2 out of the 3. The one that gave them some concern was the fact that they have the ability to basically terminate this agreement, but we aren't given the ability to terminate it. And their concern was if we terminated it, then they would get stuck in maintaining it. But I'm not comfortable in having you authorize any contract that would go in perpetuity. Because you got to have a way to get out of the contract if it's no longer meets your needs. So as a compromise, I had proposed a couple of weeks ago to the county that maybe the Credit River would agree to that the contract would stay in effect for at least 5 years. That would give the township, the city, the ability to evaluate the system, make sure that it's meeting our needs. The county would know that we're not immediately going to terminate it, but I got to have something in here that allows you to terminate a contract. I'm not comfortable with their concern of never having the ability to get out. If they have the ability to get out, we are having the ability to get out.
I agree.
So my compromise back to the county, and I never heard officially from the county or through Shane whether they were acceptable to that, but that would be my recommendation, is that maybe the city would agree to the term of this contract to be effective at least until, December 31st, like 2026. And then thereafter, either party can terminate the agreement with or without clause upon 30 days notice. And further, if the county pulls the system, this contract is terminated. Because they reserve the right, if they believe that Section 6 of the agreement, that they have the right to pull. I don't see any reason for this contract to stay in place if they exercise that right.
Sure.
And I'm assuming that the other 2 revisions, one being the name and the other one being just in the body, were not opposed by the county. The only email that I saw from November 5th was a concern about the termination provision.
Okay. Shane, did you get anything back on the last proposal of language change at all?
Mr. Mayor, I did not.
Okay. Do you have something, Andrew?
Yeah, do we have any city liability for the signal at the intersection of 27?
No.
So what's the uniqueness to this one?
I think because,
We kind of pushed him to put it in.
yeah, our residents and this board at the time.
They're quite vocal about
Mhm.
what we wanted in.
Because what this initial solution was to do a reduced conflict intersection. Yeah,
I was to fix it, but I'm not gonna be part of the
right.
answer. There's lots of right answers, right? I was
Mhm.
pretty clear about that.
Yeah,
I guess that was a historical thing I'll go with you guys on. To me, as both a resident and multiple sides of this that I was pushing, is like, this seems like a county thing to me. And that, if you want to get into the dirty details of that intersection, is if that's the one tieback, is because Natchez on the north side is a township, now city road, that was not the issue.
no,
Right?
This was very
It's-
little
it's-
traffic
This
that
is
came
a
across
county
there, yeah.
thoroughfare in their 2040 plan that became a very busy intersection that became very dangerous, and that at the time when
Right.
I was a resident, I felt, and as a public safety leader, is that
Mhm.
it was a county problem. That's why I talked to our county commissioner about it, not a township problem.
Mhm.
So I just, once again, as if we're gonna push a little bit on things, I'm just giving an argument of maybe that if we're not paying for emergency vehicle preemption exceptions at Texas and
He's listening.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think we should.
That contract's gonna come next.
I mean, I don't think-
When they get that one.
I mean, the other, name a,
That is,
I don't know if there's a stoplight on a county road in Scott County that I know of in our response area that doesn't have emergency vehicle
Right.
preemption. I think it's a standard in the state, frankly. I don't know actually of a single stoplight I go to in our response area that doesn't have this. So if that's the hinging issue.
I don't think that's a hinging issue, Andrew. I think that this is an agreement that again is applied across the cities in Scott County.
Okay,
That now that there's a new one in Credit River, that this is the first opportunity that we've seen it.
okay. Is that,
Mhm.
so this isn't a one-off?
On 27, Conley, there's a city and county,
So this isn't a one-off?
what's that?
No,
This is
this is
a
not a
normal
one-off.
partnership? Okay, somebody could have just stopped me at that. And then shut up. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm. But I do want to go back and I'm not comfortable again, as to like Bob said, without, if the county can get out of it,
One-sided,
why
yeah.
can't we get out of it?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense
No.
on the other side. Is that how all the other ones are written?
Yeah,
See,
I'm
that's
sure it is. This was just a boilerplate contract that they sent us. So I think we send it back with that note again that said we'd be happy with it, other than we need to have an out of some sort, if they get an out of some sort. And I think too, Bob, in our conversations you and I had about this, how does court rule on a contract in perpetuity? Yeah, it goes on forever without an end and out?
If a contract does not have any sort of termination language built into it, a contract of in perpetuity, the one that goes on forever, each side, at the end of a reasonable period of time, either side can terminate the contract. So if the language of the agreement is silent as to termination, then, and unless it has a specific language saying this contract is in perpetuity, and you have to be very specific, and the court called it the magic language, then either, if that language is not there, then either side, after a reasonable period, and they don't define that, can terminate, give notice to terminate the contract, and the contract can terminate. And I have seen that applied to orderly annexation agreements and other documents that the parties never talked about a termination. And then one side decides, well, I've had enough of this, gives notice to the other. When the litigation, contract enforcement litigation, the courts have ruled, no, you have to have very, very specific language saying that this contract goes forever. But in this case, my concern is that the county has language in there that would allow them to terminate it. So would that take that out of that in perpetuity where either side could then give notice? So I would rather, if they're going to have any language in here to terminate, I want us to have language terminating it.
So would you be just as good with it if they removed that piece of the language? So then,
If the contract itself was silent, then it goes for whatever a reasonable period of time is.
okay, so you guys are right if we send it back and just ask them to remove that piece of language?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then it would be up to a court if anybody were, either party would ever want to get out of it.
Yep.
So Shane, would you send this back to Scott County Highway and ask for them if they'd be good with it, with that explanation that Bob gave about removing that language and making the contract silent on the end of the agreement?
Sure, I can do that,
Shane,
Mr. Mayor.
I don't know that you'd have to explain it like I did, but you could just tell them, if you know, we want all language on termination removed. Because if they have a right to pull it, we should have the right to get out of the agreement. So if they were removing that whole section 19, then we should be okay.
Sure, I can work with you, Bob, to help
Sure.
formulate a response and
Perfect.
send it over to.
And if you want, Mr. Mayor, if you want, I can work with Shane tomorrow and
Yeah,
send an
please do.
email back to their latest concern, specifying what we want. And
They're
then
on.
Okay.
if Shane's okay with it, he can forward it on. to them.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. All right. Moving on to number 6, feasibility.
I see anything about that intersection?
You can, Tim, and we usually don't take public comment through items like that, but yeah, go ahead.
Jump up there, be
So
professional.
you want to pay for the electricity And the EVP,
maintenance.
okay, but not the signals or any of that?
Correct.
There's still an issue with that intersection. When the contractor built that and put those lights in, they're not following and reading right. That hasn't been corrected yet. The last time I stopped and asked them, it goes around and it doesn't smartly figure out where the cars are. So you're sitting waiting.
Mhm.
And when I went out to Scott County to talk to them, because they wouldn't answer the phone, they know there's an issue with it. One of the guys comes from Lakeville and they were addressing it.
Yep.
And it hasn't been fixed yet. Due to COVID, it wasn't a problem because nobody was around. But now that people are going back to work, it's stopping more often than it's green for no reason at all. And they were supposed to address that. So before you guys jump into that intersection, make sure that it's green lighted, good to go, instead of buying a system that wasn't what it should have been. They had the contractor out there trying to fix it and resolve it, and I haven't checked back to see if it has been corrected yet. But when I go to work in the morning, I get stopped more often than not.
It's been good last several months I've been through
I
there.
just talked to the engineer 2 weeks ago and he said it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony says it's all good?
Yep.
Yeah,
Cause it was bad.
it was bad.
Yeah.
It was stopping.
It was,
like-
had the left turn and it was on for 30 seconds
Yeah.
and there was nobody.
When they did the,
inside.
when they
Yeah.
turned it into a different mode for the overlay project.
Yeah,
And when they came time to turn it back, something went wrong with the controller and it kept reverting back to that. Yeah,
but when's the last time you were through there?
Probably about a month ago.
Okay,
yeah.
go check it out. If it
I
doesn't.
just want to make sure that if we're doing the
Yeah.
cop lights and the power, that's one thing, but
Mhm.
taking on this thing that they didn't get it
The timing right.
pulled
Yeah.
right and
Tim, I think the timing's right. I drive through there every day a couple times and it for at least the last month or so, it's been,
It's
I
working,
hardly ever stop
It's way
anymore.
better than.
working better.
Yeah,
I use it every day. It doesn't.
yeah, but you turn your EV.
No,
yeah, but are you making a left or a right? 21 should be green longer than the sides.
If we're gonna be correct about it, I have used the EVP every time.
When he leaves the house, he trips.
Legally responding to calls, and it does work from all 4 directions, because I've responded to calls from all 4 directions. But I also live there, and I turn left. And I have.
It
I-
should be 3 cars instead of 1 when there's 6 cars hidden.
No, I've noticed at least that it seems correct to me, like just looking at the intersection and seeing what's going on. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I will tell you, I come home from shifts at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and it's cycling. I don't know why. But the minute my car hits the turn signal, it just goes in cycles with that's all. It's not the lights on top. Those are sensors in the road that know the car's there. So it's at least at 3.
I shouldn't have sensors. I should be the cameras that are watching.
Okay.
All right, we gotta move on. Thanks.
Yeah.
I just don't buy
I think it's working.
All right,
We'll check.
Shane, you want to talk about the overlay project feasibility report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. We prepared this feasibility report in a similar manner as our 2021 overlay project, in which we would have one large 2022 overlay project. That would include the Bernard Avenue and Broadview Drive area where there's 30 direct properties. There are also 16 indirect properties, which are in the Lake Estates development. Therefore, consistent with our past policy, those properties are proposed to receive 1/4 assessment unit, as they have, it's necessary for them to use Broadview Drive in order to access their homes or their properties. The project also includes the Natchez and 175th Avenue areas. Natchez and 175th were just recently designated as our municipal state aid routes. Towards the north end, there is a considerable amount of property that's fronted by the Murphy Hannerhan Park Reserve. And there's a lot of additional traffic on this roadway other than just the local residents. So for this area, we're proposing to use our municipal state aid funding to help offset those costs and to help pay for the additional traffic. So we are proposing $175,000 of funding come from our municipal state aid account. Then the remaining $364,000 would be 50% assessed, 50% paid by the city, therefore resulting in assessments of $2,800 per unit. That's kind of the high level analysis. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Engineer Nelson on that?
One.
Yeah,
Shane, on Princeton Lane, we need to trim some trees back on that.
Okay,
Maybe if you get time, take a drive up there. Otherwise, the trucks with the box up will be hitting branches.
yeah.
sure.
Low trees in there.
Yep.
So before that happens, we need to get Randy out there.
And that'll be a fight.
Yeah, they make it pretty clear if you drive up to the entrance of that neighborhood of how well they want other people there.
Get her done. Okay.
Okay,
So with that, Mr. Mayor, you have a resolution in your packet tonight, which would approve the feasibility report and then call for a public improvement hearing. And you would have to select a date for that public improvement hearing.
yeah. So let's see, where do we want to do that?
You don't have a date in mind, do you, Shane?
It's kind of hard because we're getting so close to Christmas.
Merry Christmas, here's your.
Right.
Don't even have to put a bow on it.
How about we, I mean, time is on our side on this. We have time,
Correct.
right? I mean, we don't need to hurry up and get this done. I mean, we could look out into January, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Do you guys want to do this right, in front of a council meeting in January 17th?
When would the actual physical assessment get
It wouldn't be till 23.
the?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think as long as we're within a year.
Well, yeah, the only, we need to get this piece done before we can continue the rest of the way through the project. So we want to do it early,
Yep.
that we can get out with our early bids on the project and then move ahead, so. Or do we want to do it on its own night? I guess we could, well,
That's quite a few.
honestly,
Yeah.
we could probably put both of these together if we did this overlay one first on its own night, say, like maybe Monday, the January 10th. I should say, Shane, is there any Mondays in January that are no goes for you?
No, I think January 10th works well.
Okay, then we could do this other one, the next one, we're gonna look for a similar neighborhood meeting. We could do that one after this then.
Sure.
Okay. 6:00 PM like normal?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'd be looking for a motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-52.
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Andrew. So I got a motion and a second to approving resolution 2021-52, approving the feasibility report and calling for the public improvement hearing for the 2022 overlay project on January 10th at 6 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Chris, what was that resolution number?
2021-52.
Thank you.
All right, Shane, Longview Lane.
Mr. Mayor, the Longview Lane Road project is a slightly different type of project. So on this road, the pavement is more severely degraded. There's a lot of pattern cracking, and therefore this project would need what's called a reclaim and pave. Yeah, if you flip down to the map, there's very few properties on this section of road. So the overall project cost is $240,000 with only 6 properties. If we apply our standard 60% of the project assessed to the benefiting properties, that would result in an assessment amount of $24,000 per property. I also want to point out that property number 6, and then also property number 1 that's to the west of it, they both are double frontage properties. So they also front on 210th Street. And both of those properties were assessed for 210th Street when that project was just recently completed. So they are included now because they both have some development potential. However, this project is just because of the the numbers, we think it's maybe a difficult project. We would recommend, if this project did move forward, that we require the residents sign some kind of waiver, waiving any right to appeal the assessment. Just because of kind of the unique circumstances with this project, we're recommending that rather than go straight to a public improvement hearing, that we first hold a neighborhood meeting with these residents, explain the situation, explain the city's typical funding process, and then receive their input.
Yeah, they were.
Shane, property number 6, I don't believe touches Longview Lane. I think it's, there's a 30-foot buffer there that does not touch that, so.
Okay, we could look at that. If that's the case, the assessments, I believe, will go up to roughly 29,000 per property.
Maybe a silly question, but how did this road ever end up paved?
You did it on a Saturday.
Just showed up on a Saturday and paved it.
Builder did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's interesting, right? Is,
Let me
ask a question, is this-
From an auction, and I saw
that they're doing it?
luminous roadway trucks pulling out, and I, what's going on? Oh, we just finished the road up. I'm like, what? Okay.
Okay. Should this road be paved?
Well, that might be the decision, that if the property owners don't want to pay that, then we can only patch it for so long. And we probably have to make the decision, either they have to do it or we have to reclaim it to gravel
Right.
eventually,
So
right?
that-
I mean,
This
that's,
seems like, a bigger discussion, much more problem solving needs to happen.
which is why again, to Engineer Nelson's recommendation that we do an informational meeting to take the temperature of the residents would be a, good thing, rather than, in the overlay project, I think we've seen reasonably assured that that's gonna go, is go right to the public improvement hearing. This one, I think doing that same night, instead of it being a public improvement hearing, that it would be an informational meeting.
Right.
I think one thing that you'll see is that two of the 4 properties back in there have paved driveways, and 2 of the 4 have gravel driveways. So I'm assuming that the people with gravel driveways that have a gravel road probably is not that big of a deal. Those who have paved driveways might disagree a little bit. I don't know. That's why I think taking the temperature and find out where they're at is going to be important.
Sounds like a really good idea considering what's going on here.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So Shane, we should still approve or accept the feasibility report, but instead of calling for a public improvement hearing, should we just do a informational hearing?
Correct. And Attorney Rupi provided a resolution that just approves the feasibility report and does not call for the public improvement
hearing.
Right.
Yep. And that would be resolution 2021-53. So if you guys are comfortable, should we say January 10th at 6:45? Do you think we get through that first one in 45 minutes? Or should we go 7 o'clock?
I'd go 7 o'clock.
And the other one maybe at 6:45.
Yeah. Yeah, usually the overlay ones go pretty quick. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Andrew. Motion and a second to approve resolution 2021-53, approving the feasibility report and calling for an informational meeting on January 10th at 7 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, let's move on to comments for Buffalo Ridge. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received from Scott County Planning the Buffalo Ridge plat, which is in Spring Lake Township. And I don't think we really would have any comments on the plat itself. However, in looking at where this is located, I think our comment back to them would be at some point, Flag Trail is going to be closed off at County Road 8. Therefore, Flag Trail is going to be the only access to serve these properties. As noted in this letter, we currently have 37 properties, residential properties. That's not including the tower sites. Spring Lake Township has 32 properties that receive access from Flag Trail. So after these 19 lots are added, they would have 51 properties. So they'd actually have more properties receiving access off of Flag Trail than we would. So we're just thought it'd be a good idea to ask for some kind of an equitable cost share in which future maintenance and reconstruction costs are divided between the two entities. And the way that this letter is currently written is that those future costs wouldn't be, the trigger for that would be when County Road, the access on the County Road 8 is closed. So with that, that is our draft letter. The city council can choose to revise this or send a different response back. This has not been sent to them yet. It's just for the city council's consideration.
Okay. Are you guys all right with that, that language?
Yep.
All right. Shane, I think we're good with the way it is.
Okay, thank you. I will send that out.
All right. Liquor license ordinance and fee discussion. Bob, do you want to start with that one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, as a city, we are the entity that issues liquor licenses. Before the county issued it, now that we have become a city, we are now the entity that issues the liquor license. And it dawned on me that we had not done an ordinance establishing the requirements for a liquor license. So I put one together. I put it in, I think it's in your packet. This is just for your review. This is something that would maybe be considered by the city council at your next meeting. We do have, because you're a city, we do have the notice requirements before adopting an ordinance. So I've put together the notice requirements for putting on the website and sending it electronically to the residents. I've put together a draft ordinance for your review and a draft summary for publication for the liquor ordinance. I know that Cindy Nash has asked to review this. She said she started reviewing it. She and I had talked about some of the concepts, but she probably may have some comments on this ordinance as well. So this is a draft ordinance, but it's pretty much there.
Okay.
If you guys have any proposed changes to it, any one of you could get in touch with me. I would ask you not to email to any questions because it might be a violation of the open meeting law, but please contact me directly with any comments or concerns you might have with the ordinance.
Okay, and we'll notice this and have it ready for our December 6th meeting then.
That's correct.
All right. Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions for Bob on that one while you're thinking about it, or?
Can you open it?
And then talking about that, my understanding, Mr. Mayor, is you also have several entities, or at least one entity that has asked for a liquor license. What I would propose is that you would adopt the ordinance at your December meeting, and at the same night, approve the issuance of the liquor license. Your ordinance becomes effective upon publication, so we'd send it to the newspaper and get it published. But that we can do the groundwork for background check and all that things, and have the license ready to be approved by the city council, contingent on publication of your ordinance.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I came here tonight because I thought that Heritage Link's liquor license was going to be approved. How is this affecting us?
So Bob, do you want to just explain that again? You were just talking about. the entity.
I couldn't hear the question.
This is the entity that was looking to get their liquor license renewed. So as
Yes.
you were saying,
So the step would be the council, we've, at this point in time, we start the notice proceedings under Minnesota law 415.19 requires us to give 10 days notice of any proposed ordinances. And then at your next city council meeting, you would approve the ordinance and also approve the issuance, the renewal of the liquor licenses. And that would be contingent because it has to be published in the newspaper. So once it hits the newspaper, the liquor license would be issued.
Right.
But
So
how does the state come into this?
Excuse me?
how would the state look at this then?
Well, we would be, your license would be issued before your license expires. My understanding is your license expires on the 31st of December. This would be issued before the 31st, so the state shouldn't have an issue with it.
You'll have your new one before the end of December.
Fine with me, as long as that's the way it ends up, so,
That's the progress we're making.
okay, all right.
All right. Perfect. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bob.
Mhm.
All right, item number 10 in general discussion.
Excuse me, Mayor. There was a fee discussion as well on there.
Turn your microphone on. There you go.
Scott County had waived the fees for 2021 regarding the application fees, which were 1,700 normally. Did we want to do the same thing? They had notified Legends and Heritage of the waiver fees.
So Scott County's gonna pay us that $70.
Yeah.
We're gonna get back something.
Well, right, we'll give them 672, they'll give us back 3,000.
Mm,
What are you looking at the floor for, Tom?
So they waived them again for
They waived them.
2022.
For COVID is what it was explained in the letter that is in your Dropbox, or excuse me, the SharePoint.
SharePoint.
Yep. It is actually, it's in the, looks like an email that I attached, maybe you can't open it.
Is that the, yeah, which file is it in there?
It's under, it says liquor license information. I attached everything that they sent, so maybe I have it open. Can you
I'm just
open it?
looking to see, yeah, I can open, I have it open, I just
It's
don't know
towards the
which,
very bottom.
I just don't know which one it is.
From Nick,
Tracking?
yeah. Nick,
And then Tom, the notice already went out that it was gonna be waived for 2022 as well.
I didn't see that. I haven't seen that.
for this year, for the application period that they were doing.
Yeah, it would be year 22.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But that, I guess that's my question is they had previous year already waived.
for 2021.
I'm not sure that it was waived in 21. I don't know, my sister handles it all, but,
sorry if I could open it up here.
What am I missing?
Got it open, Karen, I just don't see.
There's 1 year with it.
Okay, here we go. Here's the, from Nick at the county says, here's our link to the fee schedule. You can see what we currently charge for the different licenses. We did have an agreement with the county board to waive the 2022 license fees in consideration of the income loss from COVID. Whether or not you choose to honor that is entirely up to you, but I'd expect that Legends and Heritage Links aren't anticipating a fee to be charged.
Or not, or
Or not.
right? Because
Yeah.
they were informed 2022, they wouldn't have to pay. it
From-
for
to the
liquor
county.
license.
Would you guys like to continue that agreement and continue to waive that?
just so you know, we had 30-some events canceled last year.
Yep. Yeah, we might as well.
We can add that to our lost income.
Yeah, we can.
We can.
Yeah, we can waive it.
Oh, we never had it. but yeah.
Right, we never had it, but well, it'll be lost revenue
Well,
for the next round.
You're made whole.
Yeah,
It's hard not to just honor whatever the announcement
Yeah.
already was. I don't think there's.
Yeah, I'm
reason
good with
not
that.
to, other than
No.
if you want to start talking about that stoplight again all of a sudden.
I know, right?
No,
Go back to that again.
Whatever you want.
I'm good with waiving it. Yeah.
I think we have.
And then this will be added then to the fee schedule
Yes,
going
for
forward.
your future, yeah.
And going forward, Mr. Mayor, that would be the same as the county 1,700?
I think Cindy was looking into that because Prior Lake had a different fee schedule.
Well, so Prior Lakes is a lot. $10,000. So I think we'll make up for that. No.
But I think I attached the Prior Lake one that Cindy looked at as well.
Just to shorten up the discussion is, are we having another person come forward asking for another?
Yeah,
liquor license?
Legends will.
No, no,
Legends
no.
will be.
No, a new one.
A new one?
No.
No.
I don't know if I feel that we need to change anything until we start having requests for new ones. If we wanted to shorten the discussion, because why would we do it any differently than what?
Than what
we've
the
been
Scott-
doing,
than
what the
Well, that's
schedule
what
says.
Scott County had. It wasn't our fee ordinance, it was Scott County's.
But would there be any driver to us needing to change that?
That I don't know. I
If
don't
the
know
two
what,
are just,
I guess what I need is I need to have a recommendation upon, based upon what does that fee go to offset?
Mhm.
Right? The fee has to go to offset something,
Right,
right? And I don't know what that is, so I can't. I think that's something that,
Cindy needs to.
well, I think we need to understand that more.
Okay.
And we can approve that. We're not approving our fee ordinance tonight, so.
Yep.
That,
No,
we
I
don't
just
have to do that until we do our fee ordinance.
just to,
And if you're waiving the fee, it wouldn't apply tonight, so.
yeah,
Yeah, so we're waiving the fee, right, exactly. And this discussion doesn't need to happen until we actually are approving our fee ordinance, so.
Right, and the ordinance that I've drafted refers to a separate ordinance where you adopt your fees.
Correct. Exactly. So I think we need some research on the fee before we can make that determination. And we'll do that ahead of our fee ordinance
Yep.
renewal.
On December 6th.
All right,
Lovely.
anything else on that one? We good?
I'm good.
All right.
thanks.
All right, Leroy, you got number 10,
What?
motor grader. You added it to the agenda.
Okay,
You broke the old one.
I did not. Our snowplow contractor, summer
Gravel road.
gravel road contractor. They were very, very old road grader, and he was keeping it together with Band-Aids, and it finally blew up, so. He's not gonna fix it, so I've been, for the last couple of years, I've been kind of looking for something, and when he called up and mentioned that he wasn't gonna be able to blade the roads anymore, I found one down at Ziegler, 143H, all-wheel drive, 1999. That's in really good shape with a snowplow wing on it. And they want 69,000 for it. So if you take a look at some of these newer ones,
It
anywhere
was just a
from
couple of New Years newer.
Yeah.
$150,000.
150 to
Yeah,
250, 350, so.
yeah.
I
So I
think,
think what Leroy and I had talked about this is that our proposal would be is that we purchase this grader and then enter into a contract with Bill to provide the operator as he was doing so far,
yeah,
at least for now, until such time if we have or end up having our own people at some point, then we could take that on.
pretty good. I think Leroy's probably on to something, right? You guys went and looked and.
Yeah, we went and looked at it
There's
this
a good reason
afternoon.
why.
Yeah,
I guess just like maybe for the transparency of this is, we're starting to buy equipment now. Is not to overthink it, but to appropriately go through, like, a fleet ad would be. You have to evaluate the 4 options: new, used, lease,
Yeah.
subcontract, vendor. This unit has a certain amount of hours on it already, it has a certain age, it has a purchase price, it has a depreciation, it has a life cycle and a duty cycle. That I guess 70,000 for this piece of equipment isn't a make or break, right?
no.
But I think that that's like a form that we should all look at before we make a final decision on it, because. What is the replacement cycle on this unit with the additional fuel maintenance costs? Because just to make sure we're transparent that this is probably the best decision before we just go buy equipment. And it's probably a good exercise because this might not be the first or the last time that we need to go down this avenue. So.
Sure, it won't be the last time. Yeah.
So I don't know, I have fleet worksheets that could do this. I don't know if Dominique does, if we've done this for other like pickup trucks we bought or anything like that.
Yeah, I think the one hiccup that we have is that we do have a little bit of a time crunch. We need to get out and finish grading the gravel roads before
it's freezing.
I don't disagree, but
Yeah.
that's still, I don't know if that just means you just go buy something, because this is just a farm exercise.
We could enter in some kind of a rental of it.
I guess we didn't ask him about that.
You know,
No,
they'll do-
But we
they'll
could
do
rent
that.
one.
We could
So,
rent-
We could rent, I mean, that's just because that is the cheapest option right at the second. But I think that Leroy, I mean, he's still on to something, he knows this stuff.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that I don't think it would take us a real long time to go through that exercise. The sales guy there should be able to walk you through quick what the expected life cycle, the replacement on this, what this duty cycle can do in a year, what the
Mhm.
fuel, what the maintenance costs are gonna be to do that. And then we can look at, we're putting $70,000 into something that's gonna be this much compared to our vendor contract or to rent it or whatever. I just feel like we should do that if we're gonna go buy something. We're not just going and buying a push mower here, you know, like, it's something we need to really rely on, you know, and because this is a very important piece of our road maintenance program.
Yeah,
That's why
so
you
I
guys
wonder-
thought it was so important. I mean, you gotta go look at it right now, because
Yeah.
it really does present a problem to us. I just don't know how quickly someone can get through that fleet worksheet if we've never had to do it before on a road grader, you know, like
Mhm.
a chief of fleet or someone who buys this stuff constantly for cities could probably quickly just go through that and say, here's how much it's gonna cost you to run it. Here's what the replacement years is on this one. Here's the duty cycle this can do in a year with this many hours and this age. I would just like to see that before we just go buy it, I guess, if someone could do that. I mean, the sales guy down there might be able to just do it for us.
Probably could.
I'll take it.
Okay. Just one other part of that too, by the way, we were looking at using our ARPA funds for this purchase, by the way. Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
One other thing, this summer, Bill Gallagher said 3 to 5 years max, he'll do it with the township. After that, he might even hang it up sooner, so.
Right.
Yeah.
We just talked about that in our work groups. you
Yeah.
know, is
That's
this
why
is- This
I
is a
thought-
huge liability for us to provide a service, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Leroy, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. If we can maybe start picking away at getting, say, a blade, maybe pick up a decent plow truck and start having his guys that know the route, run the stuff for now, and eventually we get a maintenance. And maybe this will trigger us to put up a building, put our stuff in, put our toys in. So,
Not quite toys,
Well,
but
see, but we gotta be careful, because when we say it like that, this is kind of like a little bit, we gotta go through the business case on it, because unlike this might be the way that Leroy and I take care of, like, I gotta plow a driveway this winter, and this sounds like a really good way to do it. That's a little bit different than like trying to put together like a fleet plan for like a city,
yeah.
so
yeah,
I'd just say, let's just go through quick the exercise of the worksheet to make sure that
Mhm.
this does add up, that this is a break even or a cost savings, or there is a return on investment for us to do this, because we know that that's a huge liability that's hanging on us in 3 to 5 years, that this might be a very expensive, possibly answer to 3 to 5 years from now, instead of entering another vendor contract or leasing the equipment and having it stored somewhere in the off season, or, you know, whatever those other options might be. I think we just better look at it quick.
yeah, we can do that. The one hiccup, and I don't have a problem with that, Andrew. So the next hiccup then is we don't meet again for 2 more weeks till December 6th. Again, I'm worried about the weather, right? If we can't get out and grade before the roads freeze.
I'd suggest they know you're a legitimate buyer. Leroy says he knows the guys down there, that they know that we're not just poking around and kicking
Oh, yeah.
tires. I would, maybe it's as much benefit to us as rent it for us to do our work, let our operators see what it's made out of, let us go through the exercise as a city. And if this makes sense when we do our math on the back end, this is a rent to buy. If it doesn't, you have a grader that's been sitting there for 6 months that you probably just made a little bit of money on, almost got no wear and tear on it. And you probably kept us as a customer if we need to expand our fleet. I just feel like it's a smart farm.
Okay.
move.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
I'm just, that was just state my concerns of,
No.
the timing piece of it is relatively important too as well.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's why.
Yep.
I'm not trying to
No,
stall it. I'm
No, I
just-
understand that, and I don't disagree with the thought process, because you're right, we do need to analyze those things, and especially moving forward as we enter to, again, if the last time that we didn't have a contractor to plow snow, fortunately, Bill was willing to do it.
Yep.
Because nobody else bid on the contract.
But October 20th, he quit.
Yeah. And Bill was able to take it over that same year.
Yeah.
So.
Actually went out and purchased another truck to do it.
Finding snowplow contractors is hard, so we're gonna have,
Yeah.
this is not gonna be a problem that's gonna go away from us.
So anyhow,
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
It's probably one of our, I think we've talked about that. in
We
our
have.
group, Just to
We've talked
reiterate
about
it, this
quite a
is,
bit,
this is
right?
probably our highest liability is that
Right.
we're really
because it's the
road
toughest to overcome.
infrastructure. Yep.
If Bill were to, I'll suddenly say, nope, I'm done right now.
Mhm.
It would be awfully tough to plow roads this winter.
Yeah, it's taken
Yeah.
a long time with my 50-inch blower.
Right about the time you get it done, spring would be here.
he did mention if he decided to quit, he would make us a hell of a deal on his snowplow trucks.
I don't know that we want those ones, so.
He's got 2 newer ones. Come on,
Yeah.
But I mean, no joke though, like that, as we develop
Mhm.
and we start
Oh,
a
yeah.
fleet, if we were starting this off as a business, which we are, we're the fiduciaries of the
We are,
city, starting off as a
absolutely,
business.
no different.
We would, it's not a joke, we would do a
Yeah.
quick fleet assessment, see if it's worth buying out the guy that we're trying to take over his business,
Right.
right? So
Or
I'm
even
all
again,
for it.
either you buy used plow trucks or new ones, right? Yeah.
I'm all for it, even if you put.
All
his
right.
stuff through.
We'll do some research on that one and see if we can't get, should call Corey and see if we can get him,
I'll call him.
see if he'll rent it for a week or so, let us get that, and by the time that's all said and done, hopefully by then, December, maybe we can make a decision on it.
Yeah.
All right,
So is there, Mr. Mayor, is there a motion to authorize Leroy to rent the grader in anticipation, as the council was talking about, maybe rent to own?
I think that's the motion you made, right?
Yeah, rent to own or lease to own, whatever.
Drive
Ziegler's-
But
Yes,
Yes.
so Andrew made that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. Motion is second to authorize Leroy to arrange a rental agreement with Ziegler Cat on this used piece of equipment for 2 weeks to evaluate the condition and take care of our needs. All in favor, say aye.
I
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right. Bob, I think we're done with you.
Actually, I had one more topic I thought was on the agenda, was just to notice that should be in your packet, the garbage collection ordinance.
Yep.
That will be on, again, that's just for your information. The notice will be need to be put on the city's website with a copy of the ordinance. And that'll be considered at your December meeting.
Perfect. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council.
All right, anybody have any council member reports or updates tonight?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Went out to the ranch, Bill Feldman's development. We did a roll test out there. Shane and Sam were out there also. We walked it. It was a really, really good roll test. Only had a couple of small spots that were soft. They were gonna address them right away the next day, so. That, and after that, we went to Scottsview, reviewed the drainage pond issue there. Got that resolved, so everything's good.
All right.
Mattress is gone.
Oh, yeah.
That's my liaison update.
Where'd you find a mattress?
It was laying on the side of the road in Monterey, still in a package. I asked the neighbors. I put it with a free sign out on my corner and it was gone when I got home.
Told you that works.
I took your
Especially on the
advice.
county
and-
road.
I took your advice and implemented it. The only other is, Al, did you get a chance to circle back with your neighbor?
We talked about it earlier, so, but yeah,
Okay,
he's making it worse, not better, so.
Yeah,
We're gonna have another
unfortunately.
talk.
Yeah, I don't know what we want to do about that.
Well,
the driveway, well, he's gonna have to remove it, or we're gonna remove it for him.
well, that's what he's gonna hear next, so.
Okay, yeah, because it's retaining water now.
Mhm.
It's freezing.
Another one, take the rental machine over
Easy to do.
and push it.
As long as you're coming home with it, might as well do that one too.
We'll see.
So I'd give him 30 days to remove
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, that's it.
Let's see, Brent sent a note. He was at the scale delivery meeting this morning. Nothing monumental on the agenda, but they were talking about countywide full-time fire and assignment of duties and stuff. He didn't have much else to report other than that. I was at the scale executive committee last week. A lot of talk about the 2022 legislative priorities for scale that they're sending to our legislatures. They entered in and renewed an agreement with our lobbyist, James Clark, again lobbying for transportation and housing stuff that we had been doing with them in the past. So they re-upped that. Let's see, what else did we talk about? I think that was pretty much it.
Your fire comment, just quick updates from our work group session. Chief Trader, I'm still working on availability, probably
Yeah.
next week or the next for us to have a
Okay,
prelim discussion to do more exploration and learning that we can then hopefully educate everybody back with liaison updates. And then I sent out that information for everybody. I know some people, it's probably something of more involvement for me. And it does look like that possibly we're going down the right pathway to keep learning more about it. So as long as everyone's okay, I think Chris and I will just kind of keep going down this pathway so that we can really understand the full circle.
yeah. Interesting. Again, I sent you those numbers, just off the cuff calculations, what it changes if you do a
Yeah, will you
district.
share that with everybody?
Yeah.
I thought those were good.
If we do this district where the fire was a line item on each individual property tax, just straight up, that's no escalation for commercial properties or anything like that. In the first year, next year, it would actually be a little bit more expensive than for Credit River and Spring Lake. But in subsequent years, for everybody, it drops significantly. So it'd be interesting if
Significantly.
it does. So it goes from $130 a property to $98.
Yeah, like up
Yeah.
by close to
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah, so it's pretty big if we would do something like that. So we'll see how those work out as we can communicate with Prior Lake a little bit more on that one. So, yeah. All right. If nobody else, anything else from that? Claim listings tonight, Dominique?
Yeah, we have claims tonight of 35,729.59 for approval.
What's that number again? 35.
729.59.
Okay. All right. So looking for approval for claims in the amount of $35,729.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Al. Motion is second to approve payment of claims for $35,729. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And then I would be looking for a motion to adjourn the council meeting.
Make the motion.
Oh, man. Andrew, you completely got beat on that one,
my game there.
right? Motion is second to